skis with the excitement. And that's not normally a great combination, that, that retail starts getting too excited and insider buying still hasn't really picked up. And so that's kind of why I think we probably need something to make the market a little more attractive to get that insider buying picked back up. And we'll cover that here as well. Let me actually include this note. Right there. Okay. And then I can share my screen here. Oh wait, hold on. Let's share the other one here. Hold on. We'll figure this out. There we go. All right. Now you should see the regular screen that we'll walk through today. There we go. All right. Well, hope everyone is doing well. It's been a phenomenal couple of weeks, but we're starting to get our first little, our first little question mark here, since the following week after April 9th was a huge, like 12% in the Nasdaq day up. If you remember that kind of, after our bottom on April 7th, we had that crazy day. The next week, I actually thought we might really accelerate another 3 or 4%, but the next week we sold right back off like another 5%. And then we've been straight up since then. And things have been rolling right along. If you guys have been following, any of the strategies that we're doing in automated options or overnight options, obviously I like bullish conditions. I'm mostly a bullish trader. So when things are ripping, I don't complain. I love it. So overnight options ripped about 9 winners in a row during that stretch, and actually even some winners on some of those red days in between, which was great. Now we have our first 1% gap down since GDP, which ended up actually being a positive day, as crazy as that was. So this could actually be, our first gap down and hold down here over, what would that be, like 13 days or something like that. So interesting conditions we find ourselves in. But let's talk about where the S&P is right now, because right now we are right in kind of this no man's land. So we have the high here around 567. This is the level that I talked about a while before we broke down. This April 2 pre-liberation day kind of poked up to that, obviously cemented our down move after a little bit of a channel. And then we have this 548 level, which is really where the initial stop was back in March, and then right exactly where that April 9th day I was talking about, where we did the pause tariff, the 90-day pause, and the market shot up 12% in like an hour. And it stopped pretty much on a dime here at the end of the day, right at that 548 level. You can see it's been a consistent play. So we're kind of right in between these two levels on the S&P. And I think, it's really a coin flip when you get in these situations. You have a lot of momentum. There's lots of upside pressure, but we're probably overbought in the last 13 days by any kind of technical rationale. At the same time, that doesn't really mean anything. And we have these levels that we're bouncing in between. So I'm definitely a little nervous here. I mentioned this yesterday on the big picture, if you guys were in there for that I think, as excited as I am for 2025, and I've been saying this going back to even all the way at the bottom of the drop, that I really think the people who are able to kind of hang in there and stay tight and be in a position to take advantage when the market does respond and recover, because it always does, historically speaking, that those are the people who have the best advantage. Are the people who in 2020 stayed in the game and took advantage of that run, while many people just look back at that chart and said, oh, geez, I can't believe I kind of got beat up and put on the sidelines. And so I think most flushes present that kind of opportunity. So I am very optimistic when we get those big aggressive flushes. But I do think we've moved pretty quick, pretty fast here. And the real reason I'm nervous is because the insider buying has still not really stepped in. This is the chart that I think is the most important chart right now for us to be mindful of when we talk about a serious response and a serious fall through to the upside, potentially making all-time highs, which I think we have a chance of doing in 2025. We really need liquidity to come from the insiders. We really need to start institutional insiders in general. We need some of that money to come out of the cash markets, some of the money to come out of the gold market, and really get into the stock market if we want to see continuation and stability in the market. And right now, what we're actually seeing is continued selling outpace. Now, it's not unusual for selling to outpace buying. That's all normal. So this is not anything crazy that selling is outpacing buying. But what we should see is a week or two where buying really steps in and outpaces, kind of a blip on the radar. We saw it in 2000, we saw it in 2008, we saw it in 2012, we saw it in 2020. That's really what you want to see, because insiders, when they get comfortable enough to really pour significant money into the stock market, that's typically your best indication. It's not a perfect signal like timing wise, like, okay, now the next week we're going to get a big rally. But as far as, forward looking over the next 6, 8, 12 months, that's really the best concrete indication that you can have, because that means money flow is not just there, but it's there to stay, very likely, because they're not, day trading these kind of stocks. And we haven't seen that yet. So again, I like where the market's at. I like the fact that we're recovering after the big flush, like me and Graham talked about. Happens typically after big flushes, but I think this is the piece that still makes me nervous, along with the fact that retail trading has gotten kind of frenzied back into the market, and it just seems like it sets up too easy for another quick flush to take that money. But that's where I'm at right now, and like I said, these two levels are kind of going to help dictate, where we actually go directionally from here. Do we come down and make a bounce and kind of stay sideways? Do we crack right back above and it's all systems go? Do we crack below? And then we have to start looking at, okay, is it a full flush? Is it back to 510? Is it back below the lows? Once you get back below this level, I think it kind of opens up all those possibilities. Stuff that I'm still buying right now, Walmart is one that, I'll pretty much continually buy. IBIT is one that I will continue to buy. Progressive Insurance, I like. CCJ is one that I'm a big fan of, even though the chart doesn't look great, but I still think nuclear is in such a good long-term position. And then Meta, as I've shared, is my favorite Mag 7 stock. I shared a couple more in the presentation yesterday, which, like I said, we'll play here in just a couple minutes for those of you who missed it. Goes through all the big picture projections that I have, and also a deeper dive into the overnight option strategy that we've been talking about. Okay, next is our income machine play of the day. We've got XLU. XLU has popped up like 3 times actually in the last couple of weeks. It's rated as a 4 out of 5 right now on the income machine and our recommended trade. So this is our trade on XLU. Now, as always, I pulled this 30, 35 minutes ago, so the prices might be a penny or so different, but generally this is the trade, and it should be within a couple pennies of that. What this means, for those of you who are newer to spreads, is you're buying and selling the call. That means you're trading a debit spread, a risk-defined debit spread. The most you can lose is whatever you pay per contract. So you pay 74 cents, in other words, 74 bucks. And then you're looking to make the other side of that spread. So this is a $1 spread, 78 versus 79, which means the max value of the spread is $1. So if you pay 74 cents and it becomes worth $1 on May 16th, then you'll make a 35% ROI. As you see here, that says tomorrow, May 16th. So if XLU expires above $79 on May 16th, this pays out a 35% ROI. And these are really the kind of trades that we're developing in the income machine. Now, I'm just giving you the manual version of it. Once you guys actually, if you actually go through the income machine here and you go through the tool, it's going to give you all the ratings. It's going to let you choose your own strategy. It's going to give you an aggressive income play, a steady income play, or a passive income play. And then it's going to give you the actual trade recommendation where it sorts through the entire option chain, looks for the opportunity, all that kind of stuff. It's going to load the data. Sometimes, by the way, you actually won't get one because it'll say, listen, there's no trades good enough. But most of them will have one. And it's going to let you do all that from this dashboard, this machine that builds it all for you. So I don't have all the final data in here. We have about 96% of the data in the income machine to make it work. And once it's final, I'm really looking forward to letting you guys actually use it and play with it because it's really quite fascinating. And what it's designed to do is put you in the best position to make income, period. So a situation like this on XLU, I'm not looking for a perfect timing or really a lot of other factors other than going through the actual option data and saying, what is my highest probability to end up with a winner over what time frame, at what strikes, under what conditions. And that's what the income machine is trying to do. So again, if it ends up above $79 on May 16th, we're going to get a win. And just so you guys know, so I had a poll in Telegram. Did you guys see the poll? Because what I'm trying to do is something that we've never done before with the income machine. I'm trying to actually let you guys use it, like do like a 30-day trial, for lack of a better word, like actually give it to you guys to use for free. Now that might sound simple, but the way that our systems works, we've got multi-million-dollar systems in our framework here, where you pay to get access. That's what gives you a members area. That's how everything operates. So the idea of just giving something away for free and controlling it actually is a lot of work. But I'm working desperately, not just on this tool, which I think is by far the most, the coolest, most intensive thing I've ever built before, but also actually a way functionally to give it away for free for a while too, so you guys can try it. So if you go to my Telegram, a little while ago, I posted and said, hey, how many of you guys would like this for free? That post is like a week old, but give it a thumbs up, because if I get a certain amount of thumbs up, then I'm going to show the development team and say, look, I've got 285 people waiting to get this for free. You have to make this work. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on, just so you guys know, to do something we've really never done before and actually give totally free access to a tool. Our systems aren't even built for that, but that's the plan with the income machine that I'm working very, very hard on, just so you all know. But for now, I'm just giving away free trades. And this is the trade for today. Let me post it one more time in the chat because I know how much people are still jumping into the room right now. But this is the trade. And if it closes above 79, 35% ROI. Okay, let's move on to what we've got on the docket for earnings. How many? Did you guys watch Palantir, which unfortunately is helping pull the whole stock market down right now, because I've got an overnight option trade on that I want to hit a target on in the next 6 hours. So I'm not a big fan of Palantir right now, but I do think it's probably a decent buying opportunity. I wouldn't take a stab right now while it's still kind of in free fall mode, but I do think it's going to set up for another buying opportunity. If you're like me and you're generally optimistic about where this market can go, because I'm actually more pessimistic about 2026 than I am 2025 for reasons we won't go into today, because I'm trying to keep this session shorter. But if you are like me and you're a little bit more optimistic, then some of these big earning hits, especially when the numbers are fairly good, are good buying opportunities. Again, I'm not buying the falling knife in most cases. Like as soon as it drops, just hey, buy it when it's down 12%, because it could go down 25%. But I think if you use some other conditions and you wait for an opportunity, those are good opportunities. I'm interested today in SMCI and AMD after the close. Both very interesting stocks for different reasons. I love Carvana as just a stock story. I think it's one of the most fascinating stock stories of the last decade in terms of its rise to prominence, kind of a blue ocean strategy, doing something that no one else had done, incredible valuation and upside, then one of the deepest collapses that we've seen in the last 50 years from high to low, and now miraculously has made a big recovery, but it's still a very volatile, very dicey trade that we have here on Carvana. And then Coinbase, one of my favorites, but also, just a high volatile, really interesting retail audience type of stock that I'm curious to see the reaction on for Thursday after earnings. So lots of interesting stocks. So today's earnings gamble, if you guys want to take a full-on kind of earnings trade gamble with me, I'm going to look at SMCI. So this is definitely not a trade recommendation, guys. This is what me and Graham would call earnings gamble trade. Let me yep, here it is on the chart. Oh, it's actually moved up a little bit since I was first mentioning it here. We've actually moved up about 50 cents, but that's okay. So this is SMCI on the chart. Now, the reason that I like the SMCI opportunity here is because it is one of these massively beaten down stocks that can squeeze. So this is the weekly chart here. SMCI 122, that's post-split pricing. But it's gone down just as quick as it's gone up. And now we're kind of back at that fundamental level here of where SMCI has been in the past. So to me, if you think of like this $40 level here near the top and somewhere around, 23, or you could even go down all the way into like the $18 range, but I would say more like this channel here in the $24, $25 range, I would basically consider that the squeeze on SMCI. And so the reason that I like trading earnings on stocks that are generally highly volatile but have been squeezed down is usually they will use earnings as that catalyst to get, the break back out of that squeeze. And so I think that it has some pretty outsized potential. So this is, again, just super clear. Just an earnings gamble I'll take with very small size, looking at, one of these stocks that has the potential to make a big move. This is certainly one, if you guys watch the two-way training, you could do a two-way trade on, right? So you could take a trade to the upside and a trade to the downside at the same time. If we go into SMCI, you can see here the market maker projected move, MMM, which most brokers will show you, is about $3. So nearly a 10% expected move on SMCI. Actually, not even as big as I would have thought. I would have thought maybe a 15% expected move. But here, this is about a 9.5% expected move. And so I like the idea of getting inside that expected move and still going for, 100% or 150%. So the way to do this, right now it's trading at 32. I want to go inside the expected move. So I could probably go up to about the $33, $34 spread and see what kind of ROI I can get. You can see, by the way, pretty tight spread, only about 3 cents. Usually on SMCI or AMD before earnings, you're going to get, 20-cent spreads. We're only 3, 4, 5 cents here. Not really too bad. But what you can see is if you trade the 33, 34, you're going to end up paying probably 37, 38 cents, which leaves you almost 200% ROI on the other side, maybe 180% ROI on the other side of the trade. So pretty good potential return for trading inside that expected move. Now, if you wanted to go a little bit higher, you could go to the 34, 35 dollar spread. And basically what this requires, still inside the expected move, but not by much. Expected move is about $3. In order for it to get above 35, it would have to move $2.75. So, you're still inside the expected move, but not by a whole lot. And here you could get it for 30 cents, which actually gives you over 200% potential. But for me, I always try to stay a little bit more comfortably inside that expected move. So I like the 33, 34 on a little earnings gamble action. If SMCI, hits, it will typically outperform that expected move, and you could try to get, again, depends on this price, right around 150 to 180%, just depending on how cheap you're able to get into the trade. So if you want to jump into this, I'll just type it in. Again, disclaimer, this is kind of an earnings gamble, 3-day out trade if you like the idea of some upside on these beaten down stocks. I've been taking quite a few of these kind of trades with small size, just because I think that earnings have the potential to outperform a little bit better than they have the potential to underperform in the current market condition. I think, when stocks are beaten down and earnings historically have actually been pretty decent on some of these stocks, then they just have a little bit higher chance to outperform than to underperform. But of course, you're still taking a pretty, a pretty high risk gambly type of trade when it comes to earnings. I don't want anyone to miss that. Okay, May 9th, $33 call, sell to open. May 9th, can't type and talk, $34 SMCI call. And what you would do here is you would pay a debit of about 38, 39 cents. You might have to be a little bit patient, maybe even get a little bit better. And then what you could do is you could set a GTC target for double the price. So you could set a GTC target for 76 cents, and that way you're targeting 100% ROI if it hits your target. So just a fun little earnings trade here. Like I said, I've been doing a little bit more. Just when the market's beaten down like this, I actually like trading earnings a little bit more, just because I think it is a little bit easier for stocks to kind of outperform, show some positive future guidance, and get a pretty good rip, even if it's short term. Still gives you a chance to give you a pretty decent trade. All right, so posted that in the chat. Hopefully everyone can use it. or everyone can see it. Sorry, not everyone should use it. Everyone should be able to see it. Yes? Okay, good. All right. Let me bump back in here. I'll let you know tomorrow in Opening Playbook what happens with SMCI. I'm obviously not like a high conviction trade by any stretch, but I like some earnings gambles when we have some beaten down, squeezed up stocks, and I think SMCI is a good example of that. Like I said, you could definitely use the two-way trade there on SMCI as well, because I think it's one that has the chance to definitely outperform. It's squeezed. The move's only 3%, or 10%, which that's a big expected move. But for a stock like SMCI that has outperformed that in a single regular day, let alone an earnings day, and is squeezed down, I think we could see a 20% move in SMCI tomorrow. I don't think that would be outside the realm of possibility by any stretch. Okay, a couple reminders I always try to give you guys here. Email me directly if you're a member of any of the services. You have questions, I'm available. I don't always get back to you super quickly. It depends on how busy I am that day, how many meetings, all that kind of stuff. But I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And I just want to let you know that, I'll answer it personally. I'm not going to hand it off to anyone. So you can always do that. Of course, make sure you're in my Telegram. For those of you who ask, like, hey, if I give out a free trade like SMCI, how do you know what I'm doing? It's usually just in Telegram. I'll say, hey, guys, if you follow me on the SMCI trade, I'm closing it out, or we took an ugly loser, or whatever may be. Telegram is the easiest place for me to shoot out those updates. And so make sure you're always in my Telegram. And like I always remind you, join my text list. That's where I send typically a stock of the day. Something I'm looking at, something I like over the short term, or sometimes I'll tell you, hey, this is more of a long term play. So make sure that you do that. My Telegram is just right here. I'll post a link for you. Right, if I can grab it right here. There it is in the chat. So if anyone is not in my Telegram, make sure you jump in there. Just Nate_Tucci. And obviously free to join. But that's where you'll get the most updates. That's where I'll normally post a morning update, what I'm seeing in the market, what's going on with like kind of free bonus trades, updates on stuff I'm working on, like the income machine, all that good stuff. Yes, for the overnight option, guys, nothing to do with overnight option. Every day is the same. We set up the trade. We give it 24 hours to hit our target. If it hits our target, it's a winner. If it expires below our target, it's a loser. It's the simplest, most binary trade to manage, which is one of the reasons I really like it. And every day it works the same. So we have about, 5.5 hours left on the overnight option trade. And if it doesn't hit by 4 p.m., it finishes below, it's a loser. If it hits our target anytime between the night before and the close of the market, it's a winner. And again, incredibly simple from a mechanical structure to manage. If you have questions, folks, about why we leave that trade open or how we risk management, just go right into the members area. You can both watch the masterclass and watch the bonus videos that I put together specifically for overnight options members on how we manage open trades, because it's really important. If the market opens down, if the market opens up, what do you do? Why am I making the decisions I'm making? In reality, that basically means I'm not making a decision. I'm just waiting. But I explain why in those trading videos. So always make sure that you check those out. Carlos, the text list is, let me drop a link. Here it is. This is just a page you can put your phone number in, and that's where I send you that stock each day directly from me to your phone number. So right in there. Mike, yes, that's correct. That's the only, and at 3:30, I'll let you know, because obviously we'll be looking for our next opportunity right toward the end of the day. So it's pretty straightforward from that standpoint as well, because you're always managing it right at the end of the day. SPY is jumping a little bit. We're up to about 560.50, so getting a little bump here. I would love to see SPY just crack right all the way through this 570 level. We talked about 567.28, but right through 570 whole number by the end of the week. By all means, let's keep the momentum going. I think like I said, it's a little overextended. It makes me a little bit nervous, but by all means, keep going, baby. You guys know if you follow me, sometimes I'll use the term overextended to explain kind of like, hey, we have some downside potential. But as far as actually trading, overextended doesn't mean anything. It's not a real reason for a stock to turn around. If that were the case, then the 2020 market wouldn't exist in many other markets, or many of the best runs. So overextended, it's a reality in the sense that people look at it and say, okay, we might be looking for a move down from a timing perspective, but in itself is not a reason for the market to move. And so by all means, overextend, go up every day. I'll take it. I haven't looked on at Uber. Let me take a look at Uber here. Let's see. Oh, wow, Uber, pretty nice consistent move up today, it looks like. I mean, it shook out all the way to the bottom and then cracked back above. So Uber's looking pretty good. This is the weekly chart here on Uber. Probably want to see it get above 87 because this is a big wide sideways shelf here. So you probably want to see it break all-time highs and get above 87, but Uber actually looks really good. What were their numbers? I didn't see their numbers. I don't know what they. Oh, they didn't release yet. They're tomorrow. They're tomorrow. Got it. Okay. So this is going to be so if you like Uber, this is one that could easily crack all-time highs with good earnings. So what made them drop pre-market? Just overall market because they were down about 3.5% at the open, back above. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so Uber's tomorrow morning. Very curious what we get on that one because that actually looks like could potentially break all time highs and be a pretty good looking stock. I haven't really trade. I don't think I've ever put a trade on Uber, to be honest. I could that could be wrong. I just don't ever remember trading it. Um. So yeah, but it looks. I mean, could be headed for all time highs here. All needs a little earning catalyst and we'll go over the hump. Okay, I've already been going on for 30 minutes, which is I was trying to keep this session short. So the next thing is we're going to play out the big picture event from yesterday. We're going to stream it live right here in the room. Basically, guys, this is the big predictions that I made. Several big predictions on S&P, on gold, on crypto, and then obviously it's a deep dive into the overnight option strategy that we're going for 10 for 10. Hopefully today, fingers crossed, that we'll get into that. So you don't have to go anywhere. We're going to play that directly in this room for you. So just hang tight. It'll get started here in 1 second. This is me and Roger yesterday that we're streaming today, by the way. Free new bonus class in the members area for you. And we'll have a trade here at the end of the day. So if you guys want to take advantage not only of the predictions, but what I think is probably the single best strategy to take advantage, if we do get some opportunities to the upside throughout the end of the year, well, then you're in the right place. So hang tight. Take a look at this. Either way, though, I'll see you guys later in Telegram and tomorrow on the opening playbook.
This is going to be great. Nate's shocking prediction about whether we'll make all-time highs again. Dollars in income on every $5,000, which is what we're going to use as an. This is going to be great. Nate's shocking prediction about whether we'll make all-time highs again. His idea on gold, cryptos. I want to hear what Nate has to say about this. I'm very interested about this. So
let's go, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's do this now, folks. Profits, performance. They're not typical. We're not going to make any future earnings claims. You may lose money. The majority of trades expressed are from historic back testing data, unless otherwise stated in order to demonstrate the potential of the system. Now, this is where things get interesting. In live trading on 113 trades, the system has delivered almost an 80% win rate with an average winner of 25%. That's really nice. That's really comes out to about $800 something in income on every $5,000, which is what we're going to use as an example, unless otherwise stated. So if you want to know how much was used for a certain trade, it's $5,000, okay? The average cost per trade is less than $100, so it's very affordable. We're not going to make any future guarantees. We all know that this crystal ball that T-Bus gave me was made in China. and it doesn't work all the time. Although I wish it did. Now, maybe somebody will buy me an American-made one at some point in the future. I can upgrade it.
To
Okay.
avoid the tariffs.
To avoid tariffs, exactly. Thank you. Folks, my name is Roger Scott. I'm glad you've joined us for this one-time only trading session. You're going to learn something really interesting today. My colleague, Nate Tucci, is about to unveil his big prediction for the rest of the year. We're talking about everything from the S&P to gold to crypto to seven stocks he'd bet the house on for the rest of the year. By the way, folks, I don't know what these stocks are. I'm really curious to find out. So I'm just going to be as surprised as you, and no joke. And the opportunity to start taking advantage of these major prediction kickoff as soon as the close of trading today. Now, don't let the fresh face fool you. Nate looks like he's 15 years old, but he's looked that way for the last 15 years. Yeah, I've known Nate for about 9 years now. He still looks like a child. Nate has been dead accurate about some of the major predictions over the last few years. And I've actually worked with Nate for almost a decade, and he's one of the most responsible, one of the sharpest guys I know. And I'm not being paid to say that. He's really top. Absolutely mean that. Including when he perfectly predicted a big rally through the election, the period of sideways chops. He's focused on the big picture, which is very important. And then an even bigger New Year sell-off. Then folks thought he went off the deep end when he said we'd visit this Liberation Day gap in the next couple of weeks. And sure enough, just on Friday, we eclipsed that mark to everyone's shock. Now he's ready to put his money where his mouth is and make a big prediction about where the markets are headed next. So, Nate, what do you see in your crystal ball?
So my American-made crystal ball. Well, thank you, Roger, for that very kind introduction and the words. It has been a great 10 years. I can't believe it's been that long. But obviously, important to say from the start, I don't even have the fake one. I don't have any crystal ball. So I don't even have your Chinese one. Every prediction I reveal is just based on my best guess, what I think is going to happen. And of course, I could be wrong. Hopefully, everyone is already aware of that. With that said, I'm not throwing darts, okay? I'm going to put my own money on the line here behind every prediction that I'm talking about today. And it includes, including, by the way, the most aggressive prediction of all. And if you're ready, this is kind of what I was saying to Roger. I actually am quite optimistic, and I think that we will see all-time highs again before the end of 2025, which people gave me a lot of crap about the April 2nd number, but I can't see everyone's faces. I imagine some people are saying, "Wait, Nate, you don't mean 2025." No, I do mean 2025. And I know we've read all the headlines, and our dear friend in the White House, has said a lot of things. It's we've seen it's already too late. The meltdown has begun. America's markets are toast. They're not coming back. Armageddon is coming. 80%, all that. So is everyone wrong? I guess is the question. Well, simply put, I think they are wrong, or at least I think they're wrong on the timing. So I've shared with students before, typically the fastest corrections also have dramatic recoveries, historically speaking. The fastest ones we've had have the fastest recoveries. And keep in mind, while all-time highs feels a long way off, it's actually a significantly smaller move over the next 7 months than we just made in the last 28 trading days. Now, I do have one caveat. I think Roger was just talking about this. Insider buying has still not picked up, okay? They don't believe that we're at the floor yet. And retail is buying very aggressively into this excitement. So I think we actually have a pretty good chance that we'll get a flush here before I'm totally optimistic again, because we went too high, too fast. But overall, I actually see this as a pretty bullish opportunity over the next 7 months. I mean, Roger mentioned COVID. I think if we're right, it means basically the best buying opportunity since post-COVID, where the market ripped and we were in a big period of uncertainty. And this week, with earnings, the Fed, everything else, we could see a ton of catalysts to a quick flush or to the upside. And that's why today I thought this is good timing. We got the crazy flush. We got the start of a rebound. We have Fed. We have all this stuff. Let me tell you, based on all of that, what I'm thinking on gold, overall market, and a whole lot of specific stocks that I like in the current conditions, which we'll cover here in just a moment.
Look what I have, folks. Think about this. I have a paper and I have a pen right here. Maybe it's a good idea for you guys to get a paper and a pen.
Yeah, but first, because I told you what I think the S&P does. That's my boldest prediction. I'm saying all-time highs, even though I'm not super bullish on 2026. But first, we're going to talk about the actual strategy, because in my opinion, that's the most important thing. How do we actually take advantage of this opportunity. And Roger, I think you know where I'm going with this as far as the strategy piece of the equation goes.
Yes. I'm sure you do, Nate, because if you're one second, something happened to my screen. I don't know exactly what it is. Just one second. Let me fix this real quick. This is weird. There we go. Thanks to a new set of data, an overnight market phenomenon that dates all the way back to the 1990s, he's been able to optimize a strategy that's designed to go after some really juicy income. The same kind of income Nate is known for by his top students. Art. He's a retired Navy veteran. I've been able to win 5 out of 6 trades so far. My total return has been a profit of 4,600 plus. I really enjoyed the ease of placing the trades and the surprise you feel when the trades close. And that's a starting stake of $3,000. That's a good return there. Carlos, with 9 trades with minimal risk, my account has grown almost 5,000. Nate has been a great coach and a humble human being. That's right. Richard, there we go. Took 5 trades with 5 automatic wins, totaled $4,434. Love that I could set and forget. I love that too. And now he's saying you can do that in just a fraction of the time. As a matter of fact, all we have to do is place a quick trade before the market closes. And if it works out, watch it as it automatically closes out in less than 24 hours later, targeting right around $823 on each trade. Not bad at all. And here's the best part. This isn't a once in a blue moon type of opportunity, not a once a month trade, not even once per week. You get a chance to target these overnight returns up to 4 times each week. So it's actually pretty it's pretty active too, Nate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. For example, okay, let's look back to the first week in August of 2024. Now, if you remember trading back in August, let's just say things were not pretty. The S&P 500 took a 10% plunge from the peak. NASDAQ 100 was down nearly 20%. And even Bitcoin was falling off a cliff. However, if I knew about this overnight phenomenon, none of that would have mattered. Let's say someone started with $2,500, not a lot of money. Or Monday, August 5th, folks could have placed the first trade and automatically clocked out with $1,453 overnight. Then gone right back to the well, plopped down the next trade the same day. This time, folks could have reeled in $642 overnight. Rinse and repeat. Day after Wednesday, it's $2,171 overnight. Thursday coming into Friday, an extra $611 coming through the door. All in all, folks could have pocketed almost $5,000 in overnight income that week. That's nearly $5,000. That could have gone towards groceries, mortgage, even savings account. How about some having a good time? What happened to having a good time, right?
I was being more practical, Roger.
All right. All from clicking just a few buttons each afternoon and watching as the position automatically closed out the next day. Now, of course, I want to remind you, not every trade is going to be a winner. And if you see something where every trade is a winner, you should be a little, it's a little odd. And I'm saying you should be skeptical, okay? In fact, losers are part of the game. So never over leverage yourself with too much on the line, especially in the market right now that's so news driven, right? Luckily, these overnight income opportunities have been hitting it with an 86.5% success rate so far. That's crazy good. That would have been like winning nearly 9 out of every 10 trades. And folks, to get placed on a new trade almost every day, right? Like Nate said, 4 days out of 5. That's a lot of opportunities. For example, the next week in August, with most of the investment community worried about a recession, global war, elections, you could have tuned all that out and instead tuned in these overnight income opportunities using only a few minutes each day to take advantage of them. Now, let's say someone was twice as confident and started with $5,000. How would you have fared in the second week? You would have made over almost $1,600 overnight. Then you would have almost made $1,150 the second night. And then you would have almost made $500 the third night. I'm starting to like these nights. And to finish the week off strong, you got $328 overnight. That could have been another $3,548 hitting the bank for folks following along automatically. Now, an extra $3,000 in the bank might sound massive to you. For others, everybody's got different financial needs and desires. But either way, it's a needle moving amount of cash, all while limiting downside risk as well. And remember, you could trade smaller, you could trade bigger. It's up to you. So if you're looking for a new way to trade, one that doesn't require a ton of effort, but has shown the power to pay almost every day, there's really no reason to look any further. Because in the next few minutes, Nate is going to walk you through exactly how these overnight income opportunities work. I'm very excited to learn myself. That's why I got my journal out, and I hope you do too. The age-old market phenomena that makes it all possible, the newest option data set that could have allowed anyone to automatically close out with an 89.5% accuracy. Nate, that's some serious numbers there. And live, he'll even invite to trade the next overnight income live opportunity with you, targeting $823 payday today. Wow, that's a lot of stuff, folks. It's a good way to start the week, actually. It's a Monday, and usually Mondays are rotational days, but Tuesdays through Thursday, a lot of stuff happens. So you're in the right place at the right time. Now, using a technique he calls the overnight income project, like I mentioned a moment ago, my name is Roger Scott. Let me back up, introduce myself. I've been doing this for 31 years. It'll be 32 years in January. I've managed multiple multi-million-dollar hedge funds. I've managed money with Kevin Hassett, the senior financial economist to President Trump's administration. I've also worked with Charles Calamirez, who is the senior Ivy League professor of Columbia University for Finance. And I've been doing this for a long time. And given my track record, I don't normally take recommendations from other folks. But when it comes to Nate, I've known I literally started doing this with Nate almost a decade ago. I know Nate. I listen to Nate. Nate knows what he's talking about. Despite having one of the most impressive track records I've seen in the world, including publicly growing a $10,000 stake to over $50,000 over just 4 months, plus earning another $100,000 last year in his investment and dividend portfolio, you won't find Nate's work on Kramer's Mad Money, not on Squawk Box, not on CNN, none of that stuff. You're likely to catch him hanging out with his family at the beach or at a football game that in New York City. That's
like
right.
You were just at.
I was just there, exactly. But it was packed. It was like a loony house.
I'm sure.
But even though he's not strapped to a desk on Wall Street wearing a suit and a tie, that would be awful. He's been able to routinely deliver for folks over and over again across his strategies. Like Carrie, thank you for the last QQQ, July 12th trade. This was my first trade and closed it out with a 370% profit. That's amazing, Nate. That's a good one right there. All winners in every trade. I'm averaging $2,500 to $3,000 per year. I'm very happy with my results, as you might imagine. Dennis, who had one of the top stories, 13 trades, 10 wins, around $7,000 in profit. I've been trading a long time. Never really thought about the approach Nate teaches. I like the limited risk, really like the set it and forget it process. Now, while we've enjoyed stories like those from his very best students, today Nate is talking about something very, very different. He's supercharging his number one discovery, pairing it with what could be the most powerful market force over the last 3 decades, all allowing everyday folks like you to target right around $823 in overnight income almost every single day, and inviting you to join him live and watch over his shoulder as he takes the next trade right before your eyes, so you could follow along if you choose to, right? Really good. Nate, enough of my monkey business. Take it away. Tell us more about this.
All right. Well, thanks, Roger. I'm obviously extremely excited that we're doing this today. And I have to admit, I haven't been this excited about a market opportunity maybe ever, because I really think that if we get a huge run, this is by far the best opportunity to take advantage of it. One that's completely changed my outlook on trading, with what I think is actually the most powerful market force that exists in the stock market that most people have no idea about, and kicks open the door for us to target overnight income almost every single day. Now, you already showed what the first couple weeks in August would look like, just kind of going day by day. So I want to pick it up from there. Let's take a look at what would have started on the week of August 19th. Okay. Now, again, a lot of panic in the air. Probably don't need to remind you. The reason I picked August is because it's actually similar to what we just experienced recently. Crazy drop, crazy rally. Market and economic fears were exploding all over the place, if you guys remember. Meanwhile, people were still getting the worst of inflation in August 2024. We had some of our highest prints, people taking it, on the chin all throughout August and the summer of last year.
Mm-hmm.
But each and every day, we have a new opportunity. So you're not worried about the headlines. With overnight income, none of that matters. You just literally set up your trade at 3:30, ignore whatever happened during the day, and move on, because we use the same trade that's shown the power to pay out right around $823. That's the average. And we get to take advantage of that almost every day that the market is open. So Monday, August 19th, again, I'm starting with that 5K stake just to use as our kind of consistent example. You would ended up with automatically closing out $555 that first day of the week. Go to the next week, place another trade. It's going to get repetitive here, but $507 automatically hitting overnight the next day. Then day 3, same play, same story. Okay, remember, we're in August, not exactly a pretty month. $507 on the next day. And then this one's my favorite, because on Thursday, going into Friday, you have one more chance, last day of the week here for an overnight income. And this one hit for $1,343, even on that ugly, ugly looking candle that you see there.
Impressive.
Now, our backtest shows the incredible possibilities with these overnight income plays. But I'm sure, as Roger already mentioned, you should know, like any strategy, there's bound to be winners and losers along the way, okay? It doesn't mean we're going to win 100% of the time. And just to be extra transparent, we did have 2 losers in that month of August that Roger and I just showed a whole bunch of examples from. So not every single trade was a winner. But the cool thing is here, if you just stuck with it, 2,500, let's say, in every single trade over the entire course of August, okay, so including the 2 losers that you see there, you would have ended up with $5,552 in overnight income in August.
Nate, that's an outstanding number, man. Think about it. The average person brings in almost $5,000 each month. But unfortunately, in today's economy, that's simply not enough to really get ahead. And that's why 61% of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck, even as inflation cools. And it's even worse for anyone hoping to retire anytime soon. Recent studies show that thanks to inflation, $1 million in the retirement account just doesn't cut it anymore. In fact, you'll need an extra $800 in the bank just to retire comfortably. Just to retire comfortably, folks.
Crazy number.
That's insane, right? Leaving millions of people forced to delay their retirement by 5, 10, even 15 years. Nate, as you've been saying for months now, this isn't the American dream, it's the American nightmare. But by the looks of it, your overnight options could really start to make a big difference for folks. And I know that's not a retire overnight type of money. That's not what we're talking about today. But that would have been enough to double the monthly income for the average person, giving folks a little bit more freedom in their day-to-day life. In the month of August, that would have meant stashing $4,000 of profits in the emergency fund, booking a round of golf for you and 3 of your best friends at the local course, covering the tab for delicious steak dinner after a round of wrapped up. We got to go for some sushi, Nate. It's been a long time.
I know we do. Yeah, and it's obviously those type of results, like a crazy month in August, that make me very excited about the overnight income project. And I can't wait to kickstart today, because we have our next trade in just a few hours, which I'm hoping every single person in here will join me for that. As a matter of fact, you can actually join me live for that trade, not just see it, but actually join me in a live trade room, targeting right around $823 by tomorrow morning. And while I'm not going to promise any future gains, you guys know the drill. I can't guarantee today's trade is going to be a winner, any of that. But given the 86.6% hit rate from the testing and the real money trading we've done so far, I'm always confident in our next opportunity. I'm never going to miss the opportunity with that kind of hit rate. Now, I know there's quite a few folks concerned about the economy, what our dear friend in the White House is doing, and if a major recession is right around the corner. I think the odds switched like 60% or something last month. People thought recessionary. So I've already told you, I don't think we're there yet. I actually think the odds are higher in 2026 than they are right now. But I certainly agree this market is full of chaos. And that's why I think the timing for the overnight income project couldn't possibly be better. Not only is our money not tied up for months, weeks, not even days on end, we're literally in one day and out the next. So we're avoiding a lot of the overall market risk, the week over week trends completely. But it's also a new way to target a couple $100 or more pretty much every single day the markets are open. And it actually doesn't really matter if the markets ultimately finish up, down, or flat over the course of any time. For example, here's an example from January where the markets were heading down at the beginning of January. You see there, Obviously, again, not pretty, but let's say you start with 5K. We'll just go through some of these opportunities. Well, you could have cashed in almost every single day throughout the month of January. So you would have had 533 there. That's the first trading day of January, then 333 on the second day, then 328 on the third day, then 106 on the fourth day. Okay. And then in the middle of January, this is where the market actually was ripping higher. Okay. You go through these examples, you would have another batch of overnight winners. Again, we're not really caring about which direction the market's going. 1142 there in the first week or first day of the week. 328 overnight in the second day of the week, 789 there. That's 2 days later. And then just to finish the month strong, which by the way, the markets were just going sideways in the last week of January. Here's another opportunity just to kind of continue swinging the bat day after day.
Beautiful. I mean, this is fantastic, man. This is great.
Yeah. So again, down first, then up. Now check out what happens when the market goes sideways, because you could have had a chance to hit out of the park once again, when most people are just watching the market do nothing. 492, that's the first day. 1985 there on that gap up, you see. 324 on the third day. And when you consider all of the January trades together, you notice there was a couple losers in there that we went, but if you consider them all together, you're 16 for 17 over the course of, a pretty rocky back and forth month where you saw up, down, and sideways conditions. Ended up 16 for 17.
Definitely.
And if you put 5K in each, you're looking at $6,641 in overnight income in total.
Nate, an extra $6,641 in overnight income for the month. That's like having another full-time job without picking up extra hours doing Uber or deliveries or whatever. God only knows what's up right now. I know that you're a reasonable guy. You're very clear with everyone that there's bound to be winners and losers along the way. So, folks, if you're expecting a win rate of 100% and become an overnight millionaire and have dinner with Warren Buffett tomorrow night, it's not going to happen, okay? But for folks who are willing to stick it out, stick to a strategy, stay disciplined, and weather the good and the bad, well, the results could be really, really nice. $6,641 does not grow on trees, not the trees that are near my house. And keep in mind, folks, that could have happened when the markets were falling down, going up, and when they were completely flat. Kind of like what we've seen the last couple of months, right, across the board. So there's a lot of stuff been going on. It seems like the perfect strategy for the current market we're in, especially if the big predictions you're about to drop on us do come true. So Nate, tell us, how does it work?
All right. Well, before I show you exactly how overnight options specifically works, let me take you back quickly to kind of the structure of how this all started. Okay, because a while back, I published a brand new strategy that hit the world by storm. I'm sure most of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But in a nutshell, what makes this strategy so special and so unique is the fact that as long as we get a move right around 1% at any point during the 2-week window, at any point during the trade, our brokerage should automatically cash us out and pay about a 50% ROI, again, if we get a move at any point during that trade, even if the stock eventually drops and finishes lower. And so again, you probably heard me talk about that's called automated options. Most people would consider that kind of my flagship strategy. And I invented that a couple years ago. And that whole new way of automated trading, getting paid just, from a small move in the stock instead of going for those big moves, completely transformed investing for hundreds of folks out there. I mean, now thousands of folks out there, myself included.
Well, Nate, the stories from your top students, well, they say it all, man. Modi, now 9 for 9. I do $2,500 order each, made $11,250 in 9 weeks. Where can I make that kind of money and let the markets do all the work for me? I like the way that sounds, Modi. Or Roger, different Roger, not me, different. This is an imposter. I'm just kidding. Unbelievable. I've taken all of the trades and I'm ahead $18,620. And that's because your live trade alerts have been off the charts good. Not only are you hitting it, but look at this, 71% win rate, a profit factor of 1.27, average return. You're making money. I love this. Your live trades have been doing well. But the live model portfolio is up $13,359 just the first year. And that's on a very bullish strategy with the market making zero ground since July of 2024. Something we have to remind folks that we really haven't seen a lot of directional bias here.
Yeah, and obviously with results that good kind of on that initial strategy, we just talked about 71% win rate, positive profit factor, even with the market going nowhere. I really wasn't looking for another way to trade that structure, but that was before I came across the shocking data that you alluded to that basically allows to supercharge that type of result, the automated options that we just talked about. So this is an overnight phenomenon that gives us basically the same trade structure, but in 24 hours or less. That's why I call it supercharging it. And this was on September 29th. I always have to give Chris credit here because I was on a panel with him with about 1,000 people on the call, and he's the one who first dropped this chart back in September. And yeah, so what Chris said was something that we've all talked about. You have talked about it. Tom's talked about it. But really, the question is how to use it. Basically, he said, listen, during the day, there's really no money to be made for most people. The net movement during the day is just not there. But overnight, that's where the stock market typically makes the substantial amount of its gains, if you just look over the course of time. And that was really the key insight that unlocked everything for me and what we're talking about today. So let me show you what I mean. And for those of you taking notes, like Roger alluded to, I mean, this is really the big thing to take notes on. So if you look at this chart, it goes all the way back to 1993. Okay, so we're talking about 30 years of data. What you're looking at is the average market return trading during the day versus trading only overnight. All right, so 9:30 to 4 p.m. is the blue line. You can see it right there with the nice big red square around it. All right, and there's zero net return trading during the day for 30 years, guys. For 30 years, if you own the market from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., all day, every day for 30 years, the stock market really has made basically no ground during the day. However, the orange line is the movement that happens when the market is technically closed. So overnight, essentially. That orange is all the overnight action that happens in the stock market. Now, as you can see, there's basically no money to be made during the day. I'm talking about from a buy and hold standpoint, from a net movement standpoint. That blue line shows you there's almost no money to be made during the day. All of the best returns, all of the best growth is happening over time, overnight.
And that's because global markets, before global markets, you could make money during the day, but it's much harder with global markets.
Now, obviously, we've had that data for a year, but I didn't really have a way to regulate profit from this whole concept of this market force happening overnight. And that's because traditionally, what you need is a big move to make any sort of meaningful money. If you're a trader and you're buying call options, you need a big move. But, the market overnight isn't going to move 2% a day. It's going to move 0.1%, 0.2%, maybe 1% on a good day. But then that's really where the light bulb moment happened for what we're talking about today. Because I already had this strategy that works by automatically cashing in on tiny 1% moves over 2 weeks, right? What if there was a way basically to leverage the same approach as I'm using in automated options, which Roger just showed you the data behind, but simply do it on a much shorter time frame overnight? Not only would that allow us to decrease the overall market risk because we're only holding the trade literally for one night at a time, but it will also allow me to multiply the profit opportunities each week, right? Stacking, recycling profits, whatever you want to call it, because we get a chance to trade almost every single day the markets are open. So I began back testing this with my team. I'm actually going back about a year ago now is when we first started putting the data together. And I was actually shocked at how easy it was to basically take the same structure, convert what I was doing, and take advantage of it on the daily basis, thanks to the CBOE creating those daily options that we can actually tap into. Now, the initial results were really great. 239% account growth going back to 2022. I don't know who wouldn't take that on the very first initial results when I ran this. And it had an 84.2% win rate on my very first kind of testing this overnight concept.
Nice.
But then we kept optimizing it, really getting the options criteria dialed in until we finally nailed it. And that's where you see the results that Roger referenced, about 3 times better than what we originally expected here. And I'll give you the full details in just a moment, all the study. But first, I want to show you exactly how it works, because that's the question that Roger initially asked. So let's take a look at what happened on Monday, September 9th. This is a great example of how this works. So as expected, during the day, good example of a day that goes 0%, does nothing from 9:30 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Now, if you bought and held stocks during the day, obviously you probably walked away with nothing and, empty-handed. But if you traded overnight options, you ignore all that during the day, place your trade at 3:30 p.m., just before the closing bell, like we're about to do today. And sure enough, the market popped about 0.6% overnight. Nothing crazy, normal kind of overnight move. But if you had the trade set up the day before, you would have automatically hit about a $1,301 winner overnight when the markets open the next day, right? And again, 0.6%. We're not talking about a crazy move here. Same story, by the way, on July 15th. All right, this is going back to last year. Now, July 15th, markets moved lower pretty much over the whole course of the regular session, 9:30 to 4 p.m. But if you were buying stocks during the day, you're probably taking a beating. Heck, if you bought call options, they're probably zeroing out. But if you traded the overnight with me, you would have ended up skipping all that noise and placing the trade at 3:30 p.m. at the very end of the day. And again, the market's gained a very reasonable 0.3% overnight. It looks like a lot when you're looking at a 5-minute chart, but that's a very small move. And anyone with an overnight options could have woke up the next morning with about $416 automatically on that little morning gap. Again, we're not talking about a 2% gap. Now, funny enough, the markets ended up selling off during the day, as we know actually happens quite often. You get a big gap up overnight, the market sells off pretty often, but that really doesn't matter to us at all with overnight options, because when everything works out, we're going to get that trade automatically deposited. Okay, so that's really important. When it works out, when you hit that limit, these options are going to close out automatically, and we're going to be on the sidelines before the midday trading action takes over in most scenarios.
Now, Nate, let me stop you for just a minute. First off, this is a major breakthrough in trading. I've been doing this for 31 years now, and I've worked with a lot of professionals. I've managed hedge funds with over 700 million in assets, and I've worked with market makers who have traded as much as $200 billion per day. And I worked with the White House advisors, derivative experts, and even a turtle trader. I've done it all. But I've never seen anyone figure out how to leverage the returns of this blatant market phenomena because, like you said, typically you need a big move to make any sort of gains. However, you're now able to do it on a tiny overnight move and just look at this, $1,300 overnight income. How is it possible? Do we have to do complex pre-market or post-market trading?
Yeah, obviously not. This is very basic. We're basically putting a trade on about 3:30 p.m. each and every day, almost every single day during very normal market hours. So nothing crazy at all. Now, it should take a beginner probably about 2 minutes to get your first trade if you can follow along like we're going to do today live. And after that, I mean, most of my traders now do this in a couple seconds with second nature because they've gotten used to it. It's so mechanical. You do it all week long, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All week long, we look for the opportunity to take this trade. So 4 overnight options per week. I avoid the weekends because basically you end up taking on more volatility than you get in risk reward, and Mondays aren't a really high performing day anyway. So it just ends up being better to skip the Friday into Monday session. For example, take a look back in March. Okay. So in March, not exactly a great time to be long stocks. You're not going to make a whole bunch of money. Folks invest in the broad market, probably made nothing or more likely actually lost money if you're holding stocks in March. But with overnight options, totally different story. Okay, we don't really care about the week-to-week trend. So Monday, March 18th, $538 popped up overnight. March 19th, $873. You see that one popped. Wednesday, March 20th, I love this example, $1,712. But then look what happens after that. The market is actually selling off all day long, but it doesn't matter. We got clocked out first thing in the morning, and we're on the sidelines, which I love those examples. Thursday, March 21st, last day of the week, going into Friday, one more hit for $416 overnight.
Nate, all in all, that could have been $3,646 in overnight income just for the week. And folks could have earned that $3,646 by clicking a few buttons to set the trade, and then the job is done. This trade is designed to close out automatically for you the next day. So once the trade is set, you're free to go live life. And then back at it on Monday.
Yeah, exactly right. See, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and back at it again. Now, again, our results have been off the charts. I mean, the initial testing was incredibly good, but that doesn't mean we're going to win every single trade. Hopefully, we've said that enough times already today. Winners and losers, part of the game. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. All that stuff. Luckily, like Roger said, you don't have to. The average entry here is going to be about $70. So you can start very small, scale up over time. At your own pace and whatever makes the most sense for you. Like the very next week, by the way, kind of going into the end of March, March 25th, $821 overnight. Tuesday, March 26th, $845 overnight on a relatively small gap. Again, even though the markets actually looked really ugly by the end of the day, didn't matter because it gapped up. We hit our winner. We're out of the trade. We're on the sidelines, as often happens. Wednesday, March 27th, $500 overnight. And then Thursday, we got a nice big gap here, $942 Thursday going into Friday on March 29th. Now, it's $3,109 by the end of the week. Not bad for a week's worth of work, right? I mean, four days, probably about 8 minutes total of time, I would guess, if you're taking each of those trades. So not bad for a week's wages.
No, it would be my candy for the week fees.
Yeah, it's about right. I've
Licorice fees.
But if you think that's good, wait until you see this, because we kept on rolling here. Now, remember, typically all we need is for the stock to make a small move overnight, and we're going, right? We're just looking for that small move up, which, as you know, happens more often than not. I think the data is pretty strong here. But what's even better is that with the trick that we've set up with these options, we can actually target our profit when the stock market even comes down a little overnight. So we don't always need a positive pop the way that we're structuring this trade. It can actually even come down. For example, take a look at April 1st, okay? So this is not this month, this is last year. Per the usual, on April 1st, markets barely budge. You can see during the day, slightly lower, nothing to write home about there. And if you're holding calls during the day, you're bleeding cash as the market goes nowhere. However, let's say someone placed one of the overnight options, followed me along 3:30 p.m. right before the closing bell. They could have ended up at $492 in overnight income, nothing to sneeze at. But the shocking part is that you can probably notice the market is actually lower than where we initially set up the trade. Yeah. So actually the market went down a little bit, and that's because we automatically bake in what I would call a cushion into every single trade. So it can actually even go down a little bit. All right. And the best part about these particular examples is that you end up getting a winner on a lot of trades where people are losing money under pretty much any other conditions.
Very nice.
By the way, this is a good example because you're done for the day as soon as that target is hit. Risk off the table, back into that sweet save cash, which in markets like this is a great position to be in to get your profit for the day, then be on the sidelines. Like this example, if you go to the next slide, this was actually an ugly day that we were on the sidelines, a couple hours before it started, and then you didn't have to worry about it.
Now, Nate, I got to admit, it's really remarkable what you've done here. Not only have you taken this age-old phenomenon and turned it into a hidden gold mine, reducing the risk, maximizing the profit, but even more impressive, your live trades, 86.6% on over 440 overnight opportunities. That's amazing. I love how that sounds. That's very, you did a great job on that. That's fantastic.
I appreciate it.
Each one of the winners targeting right around $823 overnight. That's beautiful. And remember, $5,000, 800, that's like what, 15 to 20% return, including some incredible profits, even when the stock market fell slightly against you. So Nate, it's time to tell us, how can we get in on the next overnight option? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, we're just a couple hours away. So obviously the key here, you got to structure the trade, right? That's the whole key. Setting up the right structure to take advantage of that overnight market phenomenon. You have to know which trades you're going to place each day around 3:30 p.m. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And so I'm going to show you everything you need to know to deploy your first overnight option right away. We're not wasting any time here, so that anyone can start using this method to target extra income right away, literally starting today. Now, it doesn't matter who you are, where you live. As I always say, young or old, doesn't matter. Anyone can do this. Anyone is welcome to get started today. Now, I'm going to do this in our live step-by-step workshop today that shows you exactly how you can start targeting these overnight payouts with just a few clicks of the mouse. And pretty much any brokerage can do this these days in just a couple clicks. It includes full details from how to place your first trade to how the overnight options actually work in detail, including how to automate the exits, because that's really, really important to try to maximize the gains each overnight opportunity. Now, I'm also going to teach you the trick that we set up that basically was the key to ramping up that win rate by about 20% from our original testing to the way that we do it now, which gives us extra peace of mind because we know that historically speaking, these are almost 9 out of 10 in terms of hit rate overnight, which you're not going to do a whole lot better than 9 out of 10 on average. No. Now, typically, Roger or I, we'd sell a full strategy class, $497, $997, something like that. But today, you're going to get a chance to claim the entire strategy class that we're having in just a couple hours for free. And once you get your hands on the workshop, I think you'll actually be stunned at how clear-cut this really is, because it's very mechanical step by step. You'll be able to start using it every day, basically 4 days a week, starting from today, you can tap into this overnight income opportunity. After just a few buttons, you can get the trade locked and loaded. And folks, that's all there is to it. Okay. You're not staring at the charts. You're not waiting for any exit signals from me. You get it locked and loaded, shut your computer, and walk away. That's all there is to it. Just like recently in October, October is actually a great month for this strategy. So October 2nd, I set this trade up before the closing bell. Okay, you can see not exactly a pretty day in the markets. Anyone who followed along would have collected an extra $1,343 based on the 5K stake. And the cool thing is the broker does it automatically. You get that spike, you're out on the sidelines, you're not worried about anything else. You're not watching the charts, you're not waiting for an exit signal. Then the very next day, another one that I took with real money, which most of these examples, for the last 8 months are real money trades. October 3rd, quick minute, make sure it's set. Again, nothing crazy going on in the market during the day, as you can see there, but 3:30 p.m., take about 2 minutes, make sure that overnight option trade is set, let it go to work for you. This one was about $1,081 overnight on that trade. Just a perfect example of how it works.
Now, Nate, I love it. And I'd love to be enjoying the morning coffee or something else while $1,000 hits the accounts hands-free when everything is working out. Now, of course, any regular brokerage account will get the job done. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, of course. We have people in those classes using Robinhood, Tasty, Schwab, Thinkorswim, Interactive Brokers, everything in between. Or, by the way, if you want to do it in a 401k or IRA, that will work as well. It's a risk-defined trade.
That was the question I had. Yeah, I wanted to know because I want to do it in my Fidelity account. So that's why I asked.
Risk-defined. And by the way, if you want to see how powerful, which I think this is where the light bulb moments comes on, I hope, today in our class. If you want to see how powerful these are with your own eyes, well, in about, I guess it's going to be an hour, I'm going to be placing one of these overnight options on camera, live in front of you, real money trade, targeting extra income by tomorrow morning, going through the step-by-step trade. So you can follow along, you can watch over my shoulder and copy and paste the trade in a matter of minutes today in about 1 hour from now when we open the class. And remember,
exciting.
Once that trade is set, your job is done, folks. You set up the trade, I'll walk you through how to do it, and then it's set up to automatically close sometime in the next 24 hours, every single time. Now, you can claim access to this live workshop and start implementing this technique, again, starting today in your own account. You just got to be a member of my daily income service, and the class is included. So overnight options is the service I do this in every single day, essentially, and that includes the class. So this service is solely dedicated to targeting extra income overnight, thanks to this way of targeting that overnight market force, which I don't think most people are even aware of, let alone taking advantage of. And after looking at over 300, this was the original test, over 300 of these overnight options, here's what the final study showed. Pretty crazy numbers. Small account friendly, so $65 was the average position. $823 was the average target, and that's based on the 5K stake. So like Roger said, you're about a 17% target on average, and your average market exposure is about 2 hours. So 17%, nice. 2 hours, that's a pretty good trade-off. Yeah. And the win rate was 89.5%. Now, again, mostly bullish conditions from end of 2022 to the beginning of 2025, but still 89.5%. You take that pretty much any day of the week, I think.
Yeah.
Now, in just a moment, I'm going to show you how that actually stacks up, and I'm going to include my live money trades and that as well. Whether you've been investing for years or just getting started, I think you'll be pretty blown away by how fast that stacks up. And if you take one of the limited memberships that we're going to do today for overnight options, every single day, I'm going to give you my best overnight option opportunity. Okay, like we said, Monday through Thursday. One that I'm personally recommending, one that I'm going to take with my own money, because these are the trades that I'm actually putting on in my own account. Now, that's over 200, actually not quite. It's about 200 overnight options each and every year. So you're not talking about 20 trades a year here, folks. Each one, based on the same method, the study shows targets $823 on average 4 times a week. So you're really trying to stack up gains. That's what's exciting about this. And I'm holding nothing back. Each overnight option alert breaks it all down for you step by step. Okay, so you're going to get the ticker, when to place the trade, the options criteria, entry and exit. It's all in there inside every single alert. Each income alert has clear instructions on how to place the trade. I do all the heavy lifting, and I send you the opportunity packaged up so that you can follow along if you want.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All you got to do is read the alert like you can today. Now, today it's a little special because you'll be in the live class, but most days just read the alert and decide if you want in.
Now, Nate, that's like what happened recently with your trade just less than a week ago, April 30th. Members would have seen the trade alert right in their inbox around 3:30 in the afternoon. Anyone would have taken the trade, could have clocked out at $1,739 in your brokerage account. Does it get much better than that?
Yeah, and,
I
and
mean,
by the way, you don't have to feel like you're sitting at your computer all day long. That's actually a really important part of this. Like Roger said, it's going to come at 3:30 p.m. every day, basically. So every day, you know when this alert is coming. You're not guessing, waiting around
right.
Telegram. And then you have plenty of time to get in before the close because you know it's coming right at 3:30. It takes about 1 minute to put on the trade, and you've got the rest of the day. Now, I want your experience with overnight options to be as hands-free as it possibly can. So, of course, I'm going to give you the email alert. I'm going to give you the phone, text, telegram, everything so that even if you're out and about, you
Wow.
always make sure that you get every single overnight option alert.
And I like the consistency so that they know it's coming out exactly at the same
Yeah,
time every day.
makes it really easy. For example, very next day, so Roger mentioned April 30th. The next day was May 1st. You would have gotten the email the same way that you did the day before, taken the trade if you choose. And sure enough, we actually had another really nice one here on May 1st going into May 2nd, $1,176 automatically. Last week was a great week for this. I wish I had time to put more examples from last week because it was a great week. But again, same trade, same idea. Now, I'll keep track of the performance for you so that you can easily see how good your results look compared to the S&P 500. You can track it right along side by side in the trade tracker.
Now, Nate, it looks like you're doing everything you can to make sure that new members have everything they need to succeed. And again, between the last two trades you just showed us, we're looking at what could have been almost $3,000 in extra income. This isn't like missing out on Amazon in 1999. These are trades you took with real money. And that's just after two trades. As a member, you'll be getting up to 200 more opportunities each year. So, Nate, I got to ask you, will new membership cost around $29.15 per year?
Well, I think when we finally do what I've been saying we're going to do here and we raise the price, it'll probably end up being more than that because it is 200 trades a
Right.
year. I mean, this actually is by far the most intensive service that I have in terms of just time it takes me to do it. But if you're in the room, we still have the founding special. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. And the idea here is to make you feel like you're going to get the entire membership for free. That's really the goal behind how we set up this offer. It's actually a lot of fun, and I hope everyone takes advantage of it and joins me today. So more on that in just a moment. I'll cover that. But before we talk price, let me highlight one of the biggest benefits of being a member of Overnight Options. You see, something I hinted at earlier, and it really takes Overnight Options to a whole new level.
Whole new level.
Because these alerts are specifically designed to activate after a very specific of options data. So we actually tested the options data here to get our triggers on a handful of stocks.
Interesting.
And according to our data, this is what we said. This is 100 plus real money examples plus our back testing. We're up at 86.5% accuracy. So this actually includes the last 2.5 months of brutally bearish conditions where we're looking for up moves. And we're still batting at an 86.5% accuracy, even when you include that. So to get an edge that strong, I'm not just deploying trades willy-nilly. I'm not just picking any option out there and crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. Basically, what we developed is a system that only isolates the most optimal options for entry using the actual options criteria themselves to determine what trade we're going to get into. That's obviously designed to keep us out of ruts, try to, just get that win rate as high as we can, even when the market is bearish or sideways or volatile. And it allows us to only put our hard-earned money when we have extremely high conviction. You can access it for free as soon as you become an Overnight Options member, and you can apply it to some of the other trades as well. Now, remember, actually taking these trades is about 3 clicks in most brokerage accounts. Even if you're brand new, you'll become a pro in no time trading these type of trades. All you need is a standard brokerage account, internet connection, and a few minutes to set up the trade before the end of the day. Now, forget about paying $5,000. Forget about paying $3,500. Not even going to end up paying the $19.97. That's what you would pay if you joined on, the Prosperity Pub main website. But we're not even going to do that because for folks in the webinar, you're going to get an even better deal than the $19.97. So I have 2 special bonuses that kick off the Overnight Options membership. This is still the original founding membership. Now, after analyzing 420 opportunities, including real money with over 100 opportunities, I've been blown away by the results of these Overnight Options. Now, if you account for all of the trades, again, this includes all the live trading, winning and losing weeks, combine them all together there. This is not cherry picking. This is taking, 421 trades or whatever it is, this is what you end up with. $181,074 in net profit. Again, that's including winning and losing weeks. You can see some of the losers. So we have some losers, but you stack that up over the course of 420 trades, winning and losing weeks. That's what you end up with.
Very nice.
Now, again, we traded through some bear markets, some bull markets, when the economy was looking really good in the beginning of 2023, all the way to some really ugly reports lately. So, this is good economies and bad ones are included in the data set here. And still, $5K in each trade, you're looking at about $60,538 per year in extra income.
Wow.
It's pretty darn good. Now, if you compare that to the S&P 500, obviously it's not even going to be close. 60,000 versus $540 a year. Yeah, I think I would take the 60,000.
Big
5K,
big difference.
5K in each. That's a big gap. Now, like I said, not even close. And really, the reason for that is because of the opportunity to pile up those high probability opportunities 4 times every week. You're recycling that profit so much quicker. But here's the thing: with that type of data and the edge, I think you all have seen in over 100 plus live trades, 300 studies. Obviously, this could sell for $19.97 or $29.97 or something very high end because of all the opportunities we're getting. But I have something a lot better in mind for everyone who's joining us today. So ultimately, my goal is to see students pay off their membership as soon as possible. So that way you're getting straight to the icing on the cake without having to worry about the cost of the program, because I don't want you having to think about the cost of the program. So the first bonus, which is a crazy one, is the $823 live webinar deal. So starting off with a big bonus right off the gate there. Now, like I've shown you, each and every opportunity is designed to target right about $823 on the winners. That's about the average win over the last 400 trades based on the 5K stake. Okay. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to price the entire trading program at the cost of one winning trade, even though we're going to get 200 trades? That way, folks would have a legitimate shot to have the entire year paid off by the time they wake up tomorrow.
Now, Nate, this is absolutely amazing what you're doing here with the price. I mean, this is a no-brainer for everybody in this room right now. But you're also making it accessible to take advantage of without having to break the bank, especially in the economy we're in right now, when not everybody's flying high. This is not the Ronald Reagan era. This isn't the raging 80s here. And the thought of having the entire year paid off after one night, I'm up for the challenge. I'll take that challenge. It's not like you haven't been able to deliver for your students in the past on your other programs. What does Ernie have to say? After 4 trades, I've already made enough to pay more for the 4 lifetime memberships. Holy moly. Or Tim, I have doubled the cost of the program. Keep it up. So it won't be $19.97. It's only going to be $8.23 for folks in this room, priced as the average overnight winner. I like how you did that there. So where do I sign up? That's what I want to know.
All right, so we'll drop a link here in literally 60 seconds. I know we've been going a long time. There's a lot of slides here. First come, first serve when we drop that link. And I've already instructed the team, if we get too many people for the live class, we'll have to close it down and put a little pause, because obviously I can only handle so many people in one live trading class. We want to get everyone onboarded first.
Right.
Which also means we'll likely have to, bring it back at a higher price, maybe $19.97 or $24.97. We haven't made a decision there yet. So when we drop that link, get ready to click it, join right away. Just make sure you're in there so you get into the class. But before we do, I have one final bonus. This is also
more bonuses?
Oh, this is actually my favorite one. So the idea here, I mentioned, I wanted to make it feel like it's free, like it doesn't cost you a dime. That was the idea behind the founder special here. All right. So I wanted to make it, feel like, listen, I have this thing paid off before the second trade even goes out is really the idea. Knowing that every dollar you make after that, the initial investment is, icing on top, right? So you're in the green, as they say. So bonus number 2 is the Overnight Options Live Trade Scholarship. Like I mentioned, we're going to have our live trade room today. I'm going to walk you through all the details of the overnight options. That's starting in less than an hour. Plus, I'm going to take the next trade live on camera, targeting $823 by tomorrow morning, right? Enough to cover the membership fees. That's what I'm going to be targeting in the overnight trade. So you'll be able to look over my shoulder and follow along step by step if you'd like to join me in that class. Now, of course, I can't promise future returns. I can't guarantee tonight's trade is going to be a winner. No way for me to see that. But what I can do is I cannot start the timer on your subscription until the model portfolio shows at least an $823 profit, right? So I know we're in the green before you actually get started counting against your time.
Hey, that's very nice of you. That shows good faith, Nate. I like that.
Well, I want to put my money where my mouth. So again, so that means your subscription won't start ticking until the membership is 100% paid off according to the live trade. Now, I'm going to base it on the 5K like we've been talking about. And once we get into the gravy, that's when the time will start ticking off your membership. Now, don't get me wrong. You still got to join today. Got to go to the link. Got to join today. Our system has to be able to give you access and all that kind of stuff. But we're not actually going to start counting the time until we get that tracker 100% paid off, which hopefully will be tonight. And tomorrow morning, we'll wake up. So again, limited time special, $823, live class starting here in less than 1 hour because we've been going for a while.
And it's a limited time special, folks.
So if you're ready to take action, get overnight options working for you starting in less than 1 hour, like I just said, on our next live class, then you can be one of the first to click the link that we're posting right here in the chat. I think it's, yep, there it is. First come, first serve. Thank you, Raleigh, for posting that. And if you're ready for your first overnight option, well, then count it down because we're going to be starting that class here in 52 minutes. So click the link in the chat, or you can always visit prosperitypub.com/823. That's 823 as in only $823. Roger, that's for 200 trade alerts, 823.
That's amazing. That is, I'm speechless. I don't know how you're going to have a little talk about this price. This is a little, it's a little, you're being a little too nice, I think, in my opinion.
Well, I said I was going to do it for like 1 day, and then Steven convinced me to do it longer than Graham. And so here we are giving people another chance at 823. You can also call 904-706-3537 to take advantage of that same discounted price. Again, there it is, not $19.97 a year, all that discounted for you. Just $823. And of course, today will be recorded if anyone can't get into the live trade class. You'll get the alert. Even if you don't log into the live class, you'll still get today's trade alert, which is going to go out here in about an hour.
Right.
Now, so far, this is cool. Okay, so we're at 78% over the last 6 months. Now, someone said to me, "Oh, dang, Nate, you're down. Your win rates dropped from 86% to 78%." I said, "Well, you got to go look at the tracker." Because the 86% was with the 17% average win, $823. The 77.9 is with an average win of nearly 26%. So our win rate has gone down. I've taken it down a little bit because of the volatility, but our average win because of that volatility is up. And so we've gone down a little bit in win rate, but we've gone up almost 30% on the average gain. So you got to go to the tracker and actually look through the trades. I'm thrilled with our win rate because the average win has been a lot stronger here with this, higher volatility. So make sure you do your due diligence and go through that tracker. So far, like I said, that's over 100 trades, by the way. This is not like 3 trades.
No, it's fantastic.
We're at 78% with a higher average win than we were before.
That is fantastic. Now, of course, with this cheap of a price, the big question is, Nate, is there a lifetime option available?
Okay, yes. So if you take one of the deals, I think there's a 1 year and a 2 year deal on there. Either one you take, just whatever's best. Do not close the next page. Okay, that's where you get the lifetime opportunity. No renewal fees, legacy access, all that good stuff included automatically on that next page when you take lifetime access. And I have a little extra bonus because that's only half the perk of being a lifetime member officially with overnight options, because we added a little perk. So I've been working on a custom indicator that's going to calculate the option setup for you for overnight options. Okay, so it's going to basically set it up and calculate the risk to reward, which option strikes you should take, all that good stuff for you automatically. All right,
Very
so that
nice.
you can basically set it up, never have to move a muscle, and you can actually find even more trades than I'm giving you with no work whatsoever required on your part. Okay, so that's the goal for that new indicator that we're building.
Very nice.
Now, we've got a little more work to do, but I think it's going to be the perfect companion to everyone who wants to trade overnight options, because it's going to make it really easy. You're just going to look at it. And if you take one of the lifetime memberships by saying yes on that second page, remember, it's that second page, I'm going to give you free access to this code for anyone who's a VIP member. So as soon as we're done with it, we're going to give you free access to it if you're a VIP member. That way you'll be able to identify even more opportunities, and you can even trade on other tickers if you want, because the indicator will work on multiple tickers. And it's not going to be $19.95 like one of our separate indicators. you get free access by taking lifetime today. So as long as you're lifetime, you get free access. But I will warn you, the lifetime price is ridiculously cheap. We actually just lowered it back to the founding special as well. So it's ridiculously cheap. We're going to raise that very soon. But again, lock in lifetime access, lock in regular access, lock in all the access. Take full advantage of me. Someone said I'm young in the chat, so lifetime's going to last a while.
And he's got, I don't even know. I can't keep up with how many kids you have at this point. When I met you, I think you had one when I first
I think
met
I had
you.
one. I think just Addie when we met.
Yeah. Whew, you've come a long way. What are you at, 7 now or 8?
7.
Oh God. Is there any
The magnificent 7.
Is the kitchen closed?
It's an ongoing debate, Roger.
Nate, that's fantastic. And it's not like you talk about it taking advantage of the next run. During the recent bull run, you've gone 9 for 9 and piled up $11,208 in wins based on the average $5,000 stake per trade.
Yeah, so that's just
fantastic.
It's the last 2.5 weeks. Like, we got a nice run, and we take full advantage when we get a nice run. Now, obviously, I don't expect to win every trade, but it's really nice to go on a run like that and basically have, an 85% confidence every trade you make, feeling like, hey, we've got a big advantage on our side every time we look for a new opportunity. That's why I love trading this way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And by the way, don't forget, got to include the reminders. Our live trade, 47 minutes away. I'm going to be placing a real money trade with you, targeting extra $823 by tomorrow. We're going to do it live together, try to pay off that membership in our very next trade.
I love that.
Now, if I nail it, like I have the last 9 overnight option trades, it'd be enough to cover that entire membership in one single trade. That's assuming you're doing the same stake. Some people are going to trade smaller, some are going to trade bigger, but just based on what I'm going to do, it would cover the entire membership on one trade.
Beautiful, beautiful. Overnight options, folks, get it now. Go to prosperitypub.com/823 or call 321-888-3962. Do it now. This $823 special is not going to last very long.
All right, now I do have a couple predictions. I'm going to rip through here. I didn't realize, Roger, I'm so sorry that we would be an hour and 14 minutes before I got to the predictions. So I will rip through these and let you log off because we have used too much of your time. So everyone ready? We're going to rip through these real quick. I promise I had a couple other things I wanted to give you that were on my radar. So let's go ahead and get through these predictions, and then I'll jump into the chat, of course, as well. All right, let's go ahead. So prediction number 1, I think the SPY has a chance to hit all-time highs before the end of 2025, making the next 7 months a huge opportunity, something that I'm going to be trading aggressively with overnight options. I do, like I said, think there could be a little flush before we get there. Too much excitement probably right now, but we got a little ahead of our skis maybe, but I still think the optimism through 2025 has a potential to rip us up to new highs. So that's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, I am still extremely bullish on gold, but I believe there's going to be a 10% hit at some point here. I think with how frenzy-ish the retail risk on money has gotten, gold's going to have to take a liquidity yank at some point. And so I think as much as I love gold, as much as I've been telling everyone to buy gold since 2023, be careful. It's probably going to have a crunch here in the next little while. We even saw potentially a little hint of that last week, although it's obviously rebounded great today. So that's number 2. By the way, I will be buying all the dips on gold. I'm still a believer in gold, so I'm not saying get out of gold. I'm just saying you might want to start taking some profits if you've been holding it as long as I have. I actually took a couple of my stacking positions, my options calls. I took a couple profits this morning because, I'm still holding a lot, but I think we could see a flush here in gold as this retail frenzy gets too high. Normally, that's not a great sign for gold. And then one final note, 3,200, I think, is the most obvious level. If it breaks down below 3,200, then I'm watching 2,900, which is about a 10% correction from 32 down to $2,900.
That makes sense.
Now, here's one. I think small caps are an interesting opportunity. We're obviously in a rate cut cycle, which is not going nearly as quickly as some people thought, but typically small caps do very well during rate cut cycles. And I think if we do get the bullish run, people are going to start pricing in that small cap should lead, and therefore I think IWM has a chance to outpace the mags if we do get that big bullish run. So that's assuming we get the bullish run that I'm starting to build that IWM position, and I don't mind holding it even if we don't. Prediction number 4, crypto's been on an absolute tear until this weekend's pullback, by the way. Since April 10, I spelled that wrong. Bitcoin has been going up
with gold on red days and still going up on green days with everything else. It's actually been the best asset out there since April 10, which has been kind of crazy to watch.
Yep.
So prediction number 4, if you go to the next one, is I expect Bitcoin to continue this transition as more of a stable asset. It's not going to ever be, well, I shouldn't say ever. It's not going to be stable, but I think it's going to continue this risk-off value store potential, and I think it's going to hit 100K again in the next 60 days. Today, I think is actually...
Especially if the U.S. dollar stays where it is.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so I think today's a good opportunity. I'm still very wary of the big pharma names. So I think Trump and RFK, with one press conference, can drop these pharma names, 10%. They're scary names to me right now. Pfizer, Merck, Eli Lilly. Careful with those. Prediction number 6, I think I love the Mag 7. I'm a believer in the Mag 7, but I'm a little different here. I'm actually least confident in NVIDIA, and I'm the most confident in Meta. So this is I think a bit of a contrarian. I like NVIDIA. I actually still own some NVIDIA, but I think they have a lot of risk. They're not guaranteed to be the shop for chips. They don't have that guarantee. Whereas Meta, I think, is better positioned. Their user-based position.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who develops the new AI. People are going to still be on the platforms where that stuff is happening. So I like Meta. They also have $1 trillion less of market cap with upside potential. So for me, I'm least confident in NVIDIA. I'm most confident in Meta, which I think is not a very popular play, but that's where I'm at. And then finally, 7 stocks I'd bet the house on for the rest of 2025. Here's what they are. Bitcoin, IBIT, that's number 1. BRK, Warren step down. I personally don't think that matters at all for what that stock looks like a year from now. Dropped 5% today. I'd buy BRK. Meta, as I just mentioned, is on my short list. GLD, buy the dips. Very confident in GLD. CCJ, that's a uranium play. I think it's a well-positioned uranium play, especially as AI continues to require, uranium to power it, all that good stuff. That's number 5. Number 6, what do I have? Oh, OKE, I forgot. Okay, so this is a dividend play. So OKE, I think, got way beaten down. Kind of a traditional natural gas play. I think got way too beaten down. Pays a great dividend. Doesn't hurt you to hold because you're getting paid cash. So I like OKE. And then number 7, no one's going to be surprised. Walmart. I love Walmart. I've been talking about Walmart. I've been buying Walmart. I can't buy enough Walmart.
Yep.
I love it.
Same.
And I think it's phenomenal.
It's the only stock I have in my retirement account right now.
It's a beast. It's well positioned to staple if things get squeezed, and it's still participating in the upside when things are bullish.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for?
I agree.
All right. I'll take a second here and get into your chat. I know there's 180 chats that I've been ignoring for a while. Sorry about that. But the big thing here for me is if I'm right, if this bullishness, and by the way, even if I'm not right, I should say, I still love the volatility intraday and overnight that we're getting. I think that we do have one of the best buying environments in recent memory right now. Obviously, it started a couple weeks ago when I first talked about that April 2 gap, and I think that we have a lot of potential left, and that's why I'm so excited about overhead options here over the rest of 2025. Yeah. Sorry, I thought that was obvious.
That's okay. Yeah.
Someone asked, number 1 play. Yes, overhead options is the number 1 bullish play for me, pretty much no matter what.
And remember, the class starts in 40 minutes, folks.
Yep. prosperitypub.com/823. That's how you get it.
Now, Nate, really quick, before we open the chat, I want to ask you a few questions. How much money is needed?
Average trade, $65. That's cheap.
Dirt
trade
cheap.
1, trade 10, trade 100.
All right. Is this what I do? Is this day trading?
No. So this is a great example. So for me, I'm not good at intraday direction, right? We were talking about this on Opening Playbook recently. I'm not good at the intraday direction. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to leverage that overnight force, and it's not day trading because you're entering the evening and closing out the next day. So you can do this every day without having any day trades. Now, of course, you could hit the target early. You could set the trade at 3:30 and it could hit at 4 p.m. That's a good problem to have. I don't mind when that happens every once in a while, but it's not going to get you in any trouble because you're not going to do that every day. So you have no day trading issues at all.
Got it. It leaves more clients for day trading for me.
Exactly.
What if you're wrong and there's more downside in this market this year?
Well, first of all, there will be more downside even if I'm right? Because we're going to have craziness and hectic. So the beauty of this is we only need a small overnight move. We're not saying, hey, this works if we're in a 2-month bullish trend. We're saying we're just targeting that little move overnight. So even if the stocks ultimately end up going lower, we're not stuck holding on to losing stocks. We're refreshing our opportunity every day.
Gotcha. Can you trade this in your IRA or 401k?
Yep, retirement account friendly. You just got to have the right broker permission. So just make sure you guys go through the right steps to make sure you have the right broker permissions. It's risk defined. You can do this in any account.
Gotcha. What's the max risk per trade?
So this is actually really important. We're risking whatever you pay. Like a regular call option, that's your risk. So people, if you spend $500, that's your risk. Spend $1,000, that's your risk. We're not using a stop loss. We're not using a time stop. Whatever you put in the trade, that's your risk. So just be comfortable with your risk.
Got it. Why don't you trade on? Well, you've already answered this question, but why don't you answer it for folks who are just
So I saw a couple more questions. Is it 5 trades a week? No, it's only 4 trades a week because we don't trade Friday going into Monday because it's just more volatility for no better risk reward. The risk reward doesn't make sense to take on the extra volatility in this particular trade.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. And Mondays tend to be choppy anyway, so
exactly. So you're not getting that big lift over time.
Right. Is there any sort of guarantee?
Yeah, of course. So you guys can join the class today. You can go through the 30 training videos I have in there. You can take the next 10 trades with me over a 14-day period. And if you're not happy with it, of course, you can get a refund. Now, I don't want you to join planning on getting a refund, obviously. I always say this. Anyone who's thinking, hey, I'll just join. If we lose one trade, I'm out. Well, that's probably not going to be right for you anyway. But if you're saying like, hey, I want to try it, but maybe it'll be too complex, or maybe I won't be able to figure it out, or I really want to give it a try, and you just want to be protected, of course, no problem.
Right.
Join, go through the class. No problem, no risk on your side.
That makes more sense. Yeah, don't come in here with a losing mind of, hey, I'm going to get a refund tomorrow. Don't do that. If that's your attitude, it's very hard to make money with that attitude. It really is.
And of course, we will have losing trades, right? So, I mean, like if you're thinking, hey, as soon as I have a loser, I'm out, then, I wouldn't recommend any trading strategy, to be perfectly honest with you.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's well, I know I have a ton of questions. I know Raleigh's going to jump in, or Steven, I'm not sure who's going to jump in, but thanks, Roger, so much. I know I used more of your time than I anticipated, but thank you so much for hosting, doing this.
It's my pleasure.
We've talked around the office about the strategy, but we've never got to go live and talk about it with people. So I appreciate you very much.
I can't wait to check it out for myself. And I'm actually going to be looking and talking to you about it after we're done here, because it looks like a fantastic strategy. And I'm very proud that you're doing something like this, because this can give folks a very, very good edge, which is exactly what they need right now. And yeah, it's true. Most of the moves occur overnight. It's very true. It started happening more and more when institutions took over in global markets, because global markets, all that is arbitraged, and everything that's expected to happen during the day pretty much happens overnight. And then with daily options, that didn't help either. So,
yeah.
All right, I'll let you guys go. You're in good hands with Raleigh. Folks, listen to Nate. He's a very credible guy. He's going to be around for a long time. He's younger than my kids. I'm just kidding. But seriously, he's a very, very meticulous, and he's very, very concerned about your well-being, and he wants to make sure that you get your money's worth. Okay, it's very important for Nate. He's very conscientious. That's the word I was looking for. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, folks. Don't miss out. Go to prosperitypub.com/823, and I'll see you all later.
Thanks again, Raj. And for those asking for the list of stocks, I just posted it right in there in the chat so that anyone can grab all 7 of those. Now, one thing I want to mention here, Raleigh, I mean, you can start feeding me some questions, but I did have something on my list that I forgot to mention.
Sure, go for it.
That I wanted to mention. So let me pull this up real quick. If I can figure out technology, which is a big if. People think that I'm young and I should have figured this out, but I'm like an old soul. I'm always trying to get it to work. Here we go.
Hey, I think you're doing great. Terrific presentation, by the way. Incredible presentation.
Well, thank you, Raleigh. I know you were with me pretty early on, listening to this and talking about it, and it's been a lot of fun. Kind of, I mean, we have so much fun in our live class, all that kind of stuff. Okay, let me show this real quick. I think I need permission to share before I.
Okay, there you go, buddy. I'll give you that permission. You should have it.
So, there we go. Thank you. All right, so I just want to show you, because I didn't get to talk about this at all today. This is the members area for overnight options.
Right.
I added some fun stuff in here that I haven't got to talk about. So this is a welcome video I put together. It walks you through kind of how to get started, how to use the members area, some tips and tricks like this. This is a quick start guide I put together last week for folks. I knew we were going to have some new people joining us. And if you click this, this loads up just some really good basic steps to help people get started. 9 simple steps just to get you going in the right direction right inside the members area. So the very first thing you guys want to do when you join today, watch the Start Here video, go through this. Now, it also has everything laid out really clear here in the members area. So over on options game plan, read the guide. This gets you into our class today, okay?
Yeah, some people were asking that question when they join. How do they get into your live trading? So you're going to get an email, folks, or you can go right into your members area and click there, and you'll go right into the Zoom room.
Yep. And then we have our trade tracker in here, which you can see we are, in fact, 9 for our last 9. Great little hit rate we're on right now. Of course, Opening Playbook, which we do every day live, so you always know where to find that. And then here's some fun stuff down here. So this is the master class that I mentioned that's already recorded for you. So this one, we're going to record today, but this one's already recorded for you. And even cooler, my slides are right here for you. So if you guys want to read through and go through the slides and at your own pace today during the class, download the slideshow. You'll have it during my class today. So you can really go through it. I have Raleigh here. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 live trade rooms that people can go through and watch.
One for each of your children.
There you go, about 15 hours.
Teasing you.
I have my personal email. They can email me directly on my personal email down here. And then, last but not least, people always ask me, Nate, why don't you use a stop loss? How does the risk work? I recorded a special video for you right here in detail to walk you through that because I knew that's been a common question. So I tried to really load this members area up for you, not just to deliver the trade alerts, which of course is the most important thing, but to really try to set you up for success, give you some steps to walk through, how to start, where to go, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to mention that, Raleigh, because we didn't get a chance really in the presentation at all to talk about the members area, but I thought it was worth covering real quick there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as I said, just a terrific presentation. And Nate, I've done this with you before. And the thing that I really like about it is that you're really talking about something. I mean, some people were wondering, how can you trade this every day? How can that possibly be? The markets are just going that they're going crazy. And the point is that you're focused on just 1 or 2 tickers. Okay. Because a lot of people want to know, what are you focused on? And they want to know what kind of a trade this is you're taking, because it's not a directional trade. We're not buying calls or puts with this trade. But the thing is, you're just looking for a small move to occur for these trades to pay out. So, I mean, and then, as I understand it, you get into this trade, you're automatically out of it. And so, for example, in many cases, you hit your profit, the market does something else, and you've already been immunized because you're out.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want anyone to get me wrong. We don't win every trade.
No,
but we win a lot of trades where the market's ugly. It opens, we're out, it finishes down 2%, and we're already out with a winner. And people say, how did you win a net bullish trade on a down 2% day? Well, it's because that automatic exit. That automatic exit puts us in position to get out as soon as we have an opportunity, and we do that, very regularly where the market finishes down. Again, doesn't mean we win every time. We don't win every single time, but we're looking for an opportunity to get out as soon as we can hit that target over and over and over again, and we need a very small movement. In fact, the market can even go against us a little bit, and we're still going to be in a position to win, which is already, a big advantage when you kind of think about, how do I stack the odds in my favor? Well, require the market to go nowhere or even go down a little bit and still win. It's a good way to start stacking the odds in your favor.
Sure. So when an alert comes out, Nate, I'm going to get it served up to me. I'm going to know exactly what I need to do. Correct? And those are going to come out typically around 3:30. And that's going to be Monday through Thursday that the markets are open. So if Monday's a holiday, you won't get it there, but you'll get Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so, one of the questions that came up was, is it possible that there may not be a trade on a particular given day?
I don't ever want to say impossible, but we really don't skip trades for almost any reason as long as the market's open, because we're not trying to play a scenario. People always ask me, hey, is there any way that we could filter it to boost the win rate? Well, the answer is yes. There are some filters you could boost the win rate. The problem is you would lose the ability to stack up as much opportunity. So this is something, if people are familiar with profit factor, now give me a yes in the chat if you know what profit factor is. Mm-hmm. So profit factor is really important because it tells you that for every dollar you lose, how much are you going to make back in return? And so if you want to judge how effective a system is, you want to look at the profit factor. Well, the thing is, the profit factor is only good as the amount of trades you can multiply it by.
Yes.
Okay. So what a lot of people don't realize is that if you have a 1.8 profit factor that signals 30 times a year, you're actually a lot better off with a 1.2 profit factor that signals 100 times a year, right? Because you're stacking up that profit factor by more opportunities. You're recycling, compounding more profits. And so one of the keys with overnight options is simply that. We don't get too cute, as you might say. We're not going to filter things out, because even if we don't have, we say we have an 86% win rate instead of an 88% win rate, but we get to apply an edge 50 times extra, that's better for us. And so, to the very long way of answering your question, I really try not to filter out any trades. I want to apply the edge as many times as I possibly can.
Yeah, well put there, Nate. And that's the other thing, because the other most often asked question was, how much of what I put at risk is at risk? And I think you answered it extremely well. You personally, basically, you let the trades close. So you're prepared to take a full, if you're betting $5,000 to make 823, you're prepared to accept a $5,000 loss.
Yeah. And I think you got to be. I think anyone who trades, by the way, even if you weren't planning on managing the trade that way, I think you should still be ready and willing to lose whatever you put, because that's the reality of trading. But the way we do it is actually more purposeful. We're using the full time of the trade. Now, I mentioned this. So listen, this is my people who hear, oh, hey, I'm going to risk, whatever I put up. So $65, $130, whatever it is. They think, oh man, that's a negative risk reward ratio. Is that bad? My advice, come down here. There's actually two videos. These two videos, risk management and why I don't use stop losses. It'll take you a total of 27 minutes to watch these two videos. So my advice, watch these two videos if that's your big question, and let me know if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, don't worry. You don't have to, you can get a refund if you think, never mind, that's not compelling. It doesn't make sense to do it. But in my opinion, this whole idea of actually being willing to use all the time in the trade and take advantage of it is one of the most misunderstood aspects of trading for many retail traders, because they hear talking heads say things like, never trade with a negative risk reward ratio. Well, that's a ridiculous thing to say by itself. That has no context tied to it about, what your win rate is or what your risk management is or anything like that. So you really have to understand, I think, the full picture when you want to talk about how to trade a system effectively. And my goal is to do that. These couple of videos will help you. The class we do here in about 26 minutes should certainly help you. And so my advice is, if you have questions or concerns, give me a shot, take advantage, watch the training. And if that doesn't, if you don't find it compelling, then no harm, no foul. I'm not going to hold anyone hostage who says, never mind, I don't like it. But hopefully you'll see that actually the whole idea of not risking 100% on the option is kind of a fallacy under the right context, which is what my hope to show you is. And I think the data behind that is incredibly powerful.
Sure, absolutely, Nate. Another question that came up is that some people were wondering is there any risk of assignment with this strategy?
No, there's no risk of assignment. Now, I will, I'll, by the way, post this, I guess. I don't know if I can zero this in because I realized I wasn't sharing my screen before. There you go. Join today. There is no risk of early assignment the way that we trade these. Okay, so you do have to monitor a trade in a very rare situation if it's going to be right around our entry price. In that case, I'll just give you a manual exit alert. The nice thing about that is that it's really easy. We're setting a new trade up at 3:30, and so if you still have a trade open, you can just manually, exit it before the end of the day when you're setting up your next trade. But 99 out of 100 trades, they're either going to hit your target or they're going to expire worthless. Incredibly easy to manage.
Wow, interesting. Now, Nate, when you get in at 3:30, and once again, that's when the alert comes out. The plan is to get in before the market closes.
Yep.
Typically, when are you out of the trade? Is it the next morning, or are you giving it a full 24 hours to run?
I will give it the full 24 hours, but the average exit time is early in the morning. So, typically, if the market gaps up at all, you're going to get out right as the market opens, 9:30, 9:31 a.m. If it gaps up, 0.1%, it might be 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. If it gaps down and you're down in the position, then you have the advantage of giving it the whole day to make a move back up. Yep. So and again, that risk management video hopefully will kind of open your eyes. As a matter of fact, if people were on the opening playbook, I covered this. So for those of you who are in my free session, I covered an example. Raleigh, we had a trade which day was GDP? Wednesday, I believe.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah. So we had GDP come out. We had an overnight option trade on from Tuesday. The S&P, which is what we were trading on, opened down -2%. Huge gap. Our overnight trade was down 90% when the market opened. So if you put $1,000 on, you're down $900 when the market opens. And so I had all kinds of people email me and say, "Oh, should we exit? The trade's dead in the water. Should we exit?" And I said, "Well, no. You give it the whole day in case the market makes a move back up. You can turn a current $900 loser and hit our 25% target, make $250, which is like a $1,300 swing, or depending on how much you have, $1,200 swing." And so I went through that real example in Opening Playbook, and I said, "Hey guys, we're getting a lot of questions because the market's gapped down. What should you do?" And my answer is, you should leave the trade open. Well, sure enough, Wednesday, the market ripped 2.1%. We hit a winning trade on a day the market gapped down -2% by just simply leaving the trade open. No actions, no rolling over, no doing nothing, just literally saying, that's a bummer, and waiting till the end of the day. Sure enough, if you would have put $1,000 on it and closed early, you would have taken a $900 loss. Instead, you ended up with a $270 winner or whatever it was. So that's the power of letting the market give it maximum time potential to hit more targets. That's why the win rate's so high.
Absolutely. That's fantastic, Nate. And I know, Nate, we only got you for a couple more minutes because you've got a live trading session that you're going to be attending to at 3:00 because, folks, it's Monday. It's trade day.
It's trade day, baby.
So for people that go ahead and sign up for the program, or if you're already in the program, join Nate at 3. He'll run through the program, but he's getting ready to place a trade at 3:30. Because that's when the alert's going to come out, guys, and you'll have a chance to see him do it. So let's see some other questions here that are coming up. Let me see. Yeah, guys, you need to be able to trade spreads.
Right.
This is not simple calls or puts. You're trading a spread. So
this strategy would never work with regular calls, like I explained, because
no way. Yeah.
would need a 1% move overnight or 2% move every night. We want to make money when the market moves 0 overnight. We can't do that with a regular call option. So you got to use risk-defined spreads, which I think everyone should learn risk-defined spreads. I think the most important thing in the world to learn, whether you're a beginner or not. But yeah, you got to be able to do that because that's how the service. Now, like I said, I have a members area for you guys. Okay, right up here. Let me scroll up for you.
Yep.
Right up here is a quick start guide. Read the game plan, watch the masterclass. Boom. What's step number 4? Confirm your options approval. Get level 2. It's right here in helpful guide to get started. I'm trying to take care of you folks here so you can get started and take full advantage of overnight options. You got to have level 2 access, of course. And because you guys know me, I'm never hardly ever going to trade regular options except for in very unique circumstances because the probabilities just isn't there. So that's how we do it. And it's all right there for you in that little quick start guide, just to make it as simple as I possibly can to get you started. Just one simple risk-defined spread that I'll show you. Listen, I have hundreds of people who have never traded a spread one time in their life, and now they're teaching other members how to do it because they're basically pros at this point because they do it every day because mechanicals, over and over again. So I think you guys will become a pro at no time. And listen, if not, if you get in there and you say, "Hey, this is too complicated, or I don't like it," of course, I'm going to ask you to be patient and drink out of the fire hydrant for a few days and get comfortable. Use a little YouTube action, whatever you got to do. But if you feel overwhelmed, no worries. You don't have to stick it out. I'm not going to hold you hostage. But I'd love for you to give it a try. And I think everyone should learn how to trade spreads anyway. That's my honest opinion. So why not do it with a strategy that's been hitting 85% of the time?
Absolutely. No, that's terrific. And let's see, I think that basically wraps it up for the questions. Once again, a lot of keen interest in this. We had a lot of people here, Nate, and a lot of interest in this program. And folks, once again, this is a signature way that Nate likes to trade the options markets on a daily basis. As he says, he's putting his own money in each one of these trades as well. So once again, not only do we as traders have to have confidence in the program, but imagine Nate. He's putting his neck out on the line, but he believes in this strategy. All the testing proved that this was a winner. All the live trades that we've done gives you the consistency that you're looking for on this, Nate. And once again, you've been jacked up about this program, and you've been converting everybody inside the company.
Well, I just think it's such a once I saw that overnight thing, I just felt like such a no-brainer. How do you tap into this? What do you do? What's the structure? And so we've been trying to optimize that now. Going back, I guess, early 2024 when we first started running, and then obviously I've put on 120 trades or so since then in these crazy markets. So it's been a wild ride, but a fun ride. And I just think, like I said, if we do get a bullish run, it's going to be an incredible chance to stack up these kind of trades. If we don't get a
Absolutely.
bullish run, fine. I think the edge is still there, and it's great. But I'm pretty optimistic, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just excited to have everyone trade alongside me. Someone asked what our drawdown, like what the worst drawdown would be. The worst drawdown in 420 trades with 3 losers in a row. I think that only happened once, but it was 3 losers in a row. So yeah, of course, the market gaps down 3 days in a row. It's going to be tough in overnight options. But obviously, you also have wins of 18 in a row, and 22 out of 23, and over that, you have some really good runs as well. So that's kind of the trade-off you're making with a strategy like this.
Right, exactly. And so, folks, I see, Ellen, you've got a comment here that you've requested level 2 with Schwab and you were denied. Ellen, in the membership area, okay, and Lance just showed you, there's a guide there on exactly how you have to approach your broker to request level 2 options. And by the way, this is your account.
Yeah.
This is your business. And if you're not going to get that, and I'm just copying, what I've heard from Lance, from Jack Carter, etc., go to somebody else. You tell them what you want. You don't ask them for what you need to have. You tell them what you want. And there's a specific way you have to ask it, but these are risk-defined trades, and I think the guide does a wonderful job of explaining that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat up on you, Ellen. I appreciate that you're trying. I find it tough that people say, "Oh, my broker wouldn't give me permission, so I can't do it." And I think, well, you can't let it stop at that. You got to put yourself in a position where you can take advantage of these trades. You want to make sure that whatever the best opportunity in the stock market is, you can take advantage of it. Even if it's not my program, by the way, I'm saying just for you personally, as a human being, as a trader, Ellen and anyone else, I would say whatever you think is the best opportunity in the stock market for you, you should be able to trade. You shouldn't let your broker tell you you're not allowed to do that. That always strikes me as crazy.
It does.
And I know it's them.
We hear it a lot. Yeah.
Well, if you want to know my opinion, it's because they're really incentivized to give you level 1. It's like, I always say, it's like, Kellogg saying that, you're only allowed to eat Cocoa Puffs. That's great for them. It's not exactly healthy for the person getting the prescription for only eating Cocoa Puffs. So that's kind of how I feel about brokers. That, oh, hey, sorry, you're only allowed to do this kind of trade. Well, if you look under the hood, there's a pretty good reason why that's an advantage for them and not so much for you. And so, anyway, that's my
I think you're exactly right. I've heard that from several people. So once again, folks, there are other options for you out there if it won't work. I don't want to go deep into the weeds on that. But remember, you're the customer. It's your account. You're getting the training. You're getting the all the background information you need. You're being fed the trades. And once again, these are risk-defined trades. A lot of people are going like, how much can I lose? Well, you can never lose more than what you put in it. There's not an unlimited downside to this. We're not doing anything naked. We're not doing anything crazy. And it's actually a better trade for you, in my opinion, Nate, these kinds of trades.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, there's no better way that I think that you can stack the odds in your favor than to structure trades this way. Whether you learn it from me or someone else, I recommend you do it. But either way, folks, I hope to see every single one of you here in about 15 minutes. We're going to go live. I'm going to go through the training, answer more members-only questions. We're going to pull up the broker, trade with real money, look for opportunity. Fingers crossed, hit our first winner as a new group together. It's always fun to get started off with a winner. Like I say, no guarantees, but I have that trade scholarship in there just for that reason, because I can't see the future. I don't know that we're all going to get started with a winner today. We've won 9 in a row, hoping for 10 in a row, but I kind of protect you with that trade scholarship idea. So, hey, let's say we have a loser, then we got to win 5 in a row before we officially start taking off any time of your membership. So that's all going to get kicked off here in 15 minutes, and I hope to see every single one of you there with me live.
Sounds great. Nate, thank you so much for your time today, not only on this presentation, for all the hard work that you put into bringing this program to us. And folks, I hope I want to share something that you may not fully appreciate. Nate initially, developed this strategy for his own trading. He's looking for an edge on how to trade the market. And when this came about, when he saw the potential and then went through the beta testing and then live trading, that's at that point in time, he's going, a lot more people need to be aware of this. And that's when we packaged the program up. and it's called Overnight Options. So for those of you that came in a little bit late to the program, my name is Raleigh White. I'm the senior moderator here at the Prosperity Pub and the Trading Pub, and I do have the great good fortune to work with wonderful folks like Nate and Roger on a regular basis. So thing number one, I want to let everybody know, because there was a lot of questions about this. This is a live presentation, folks, and it is being recorded. And if any of you would like to have a link to a copy of this presentation, all you have to do is put your name and email address and say, send me the replay. Put that in the chat window. I'm the only one that sees it. It's a private chat.